Tell us who you are and how you are associated with the B-58.
Well, my name is Robert Gray Sowers. My friends call me Gray. Officially, it's Robert. But I entered the Air Force in 1948, went through cadets, graduated in class 49B. I spent the first 2 years instructing in T6s down at San Angelo, Texas. And from there, I went to Korea, flying B-26s, all-night missions. I came back to Enid, Oklahoma to do some more instruction, but wasn't there very long till I went to jet upgrading, which they had T-33s by then. And so I upgraded to jets, and then I went to Laredo, Texas, and instructed in those for about 5 or 6 years. From there to B-47s at Little Rock, and then when the B-58 came out, I was lucky enough to be one of the first to get to go into that program, which was a super program, great airplane. Now, I don't understand why they retired it.
How many pilots were recruited to fly the B-58 originally?
Originally, I don't remember, but I think I was number 5. Henry Dutchendorf was the first guy in SAC, who happens to be the father of Johnny Dutchendorf, who happens to be John Denver. But and then Hal Conford was the second guy to fly it, and Hal's the one who checked me out. I later checked him out in an SR-71. But I really don't remember, but I'd say, of course, most of them were actually test pilots or company test pilots. And we all kind of integrated. The test work that I did was not test work per se. It was just like radio equipment and things like that. How does it work, where they can fine tune it, getting data for how long it takes to take off and that sort of thing. So that's the only type stuff that I did.
So what's the B-58 mean to you?
It means a heck of a lot. I was fortunate enough to get to make that Bendix speed run, which to me was a great thing. However, the crew gets the glory, but the real main thing about what made it work right was the crew chief that gave me such a great airplane. It was a difficult airplane to keep up. It was complicated. But the one plane he gave me was just perfect, so all we did is just fly it. It was more or less a routine mission, almost. The only difference was we only just went Mach 2 as a dash for bomb run, and just flying at sustained speed for that long wasn't any different. It was just flying at 10 minutes or an hour. It still flies the same.
Right. How many times did you have to refuel on the cross-country run?
We took off at Fort Worth, went out, refueled over the Pacific, then about halfway across the states, we refueled again near St. Joe, Missouri, crossed New York, went out over the Atlantic, refueled, started back again, refueled halfway across, so several times.
Oh, so that flight didn't stop in New York. You turned around and came back the other direction.
Right.
Interesting.
Consequently, there's 3 records. one for each way and round trip.
Why should bringing this B-58 back to Fort Worth, why is it important?
Well, to me personally, it's not important because I live in Tucson. But to preserve the B-58 and for future people, I think it is extremely important to get it back. To most people, it's an unknown airplane. Most people don't have any idea what a B-58 is. And you show them and they say, oh, that's a beautiful airplane, which it is. But just for the future, I think it's very important to bring it back.
Anything else you'd like to say about the airplane?
No, I really can't say too much. Of course, I could talk all day, but right now I really can't think of anything that's more important to say other than just what a wonderful airplane it was. Easy to fly. The airplane, you flew it, you didn't drive it. Like a B-47, to me, you don't fly it, you drive it. And pilots like to fly. So it wasn't like a fighter by any means, but it was very maneuverable. The easiest airplane to refuel that I've ever seen, because the nozzle set right up here on the nose and fly right up and hook onto it yourself without any help from the boomer. So,
how fast did you go in it?
Normal speed was Mach 2. I mean, for supersonic speed, I've been up to 2.2, something like that, but I never tried to abuse anything.
How fast do you think it would go?
I have no idea, but it would go a lot faster. But what was restricted to was skin temperature of I think what was it, 115 degrees, Butch? I think it was. Skin temperature, which is what? Up close to 200. Well, not like the SR-71, which is 850.
Wow. Did you ever have to eject out of a B-58?
Not out of a 58. I did out of an SR-71.
That's a small group of guys that can say that.
Well, that's good.
What were your thoughts on the ejection pod that was in the B-58?
Well, I flew it a lot before they put the ejection pod in, and it was more comfortable, of course, without the pod. But if you're fairly tall, which I'm reasonably tall, the pod was just a little bit tight, and not quite as comfortable physically, but it was comfortable knowing what it would do if you had to use it. Because if you had to go out at Mach 2 without it, you're a dead man very quickly.
You said you flew in the test program. Which airplane did you have in the test program?
Which number airplane?
Which number?
I don't remember.
Our museum has a number of records from an engineer named Harold Johnson, and he looked after the airplane that was lost in Oklahoma. And but he also looked after some of the speed runs too, like the one from, I guess it was New York to Paris.
I flew back up on that one.
And it was fascinating. You look at how much you could do without a computer, and then what a computer looked like back then.
It's fascinating the way they had to build it without a computer back then.
Did y'all spend much time at the factory seeing the assembly line and the people that
Not a
there?
lot of time, but yes, we did. We definitely got to see it, and occasionally, particularly in the early part of the program, understanding that flight control system was nobody really quite understood it, and me being one of the first instructors, trying to figure out how to explain it to students, and I finally thought I kind of got an idea how it worked, but I wasn't sure, so I spent a little time over with some of the guys that designed the flight control system, milking what I could out of them. Of course, a pilot talking to an engineer is kind of a different thing. We speak English and they speak formulas.
The different tests that the test runs that were made with the airplane were trying out different pieces of equipment that would go in the production airplane. How long did that test program go on?
Well, now the basic stuff was done before any of the SAC people even got in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was strictly done by professional test pilots, mostly at Edwards Air Force Base, and they do the hard and the dangerous stuff before we ever get to it. By the time we get to it, we're flying a reasonably good airplane.
What unit were you assigned to with the B-58?
43rd.
43rd Bomb Wing?
Yeah.
Was that here at Carswell?
That's right.
How did you like living in Fort Worth back then?
Loved it. I lived out on Lake Worth. It was a nice place to live.
Well, thank you. That's all everything I can think of.
Well, my pleasure. Nice to meet you.